Hello and welcome to the YYC Soccer Podcast. My name is Jason Kmet and my co-host is Scott Strasser. Hey, Scott.
Jason, how's it going? I'm doing well.
It's going good. Nice summer weekend and no pro soccer in town to watch, but there was some other local soccer. I think you even caught some of it, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to the Mount Royal University Cougars men's team's game against MacEwan Griffins today. I had to get my soccer fix somehow. Both Cavalry and the Wild were playing on the road, so drove out to MRU's campus and caught the action this afternoon. It was pretty fun.
Well, let's talk more about that, but we'll talk about it in our youth sports segment. This is our beginning of the week wrap up of what happened on the weekend. We're going to review Cavalry versus Ottawa, the Wild versus Montreal, all those youth sports men's games that happened, and we'll also wrap up Canada Summer Games. I think that should cover us off pretty well for this episode, Scott.
I think so too. Can't wait to get into it.
This is Kanija Elva, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
So Cavalry were in Ottawa this weekend taking on Atletico at TD Place, a team that they hadn't picked up any points against at home this season. They did manage to get 1 point on the weekend, drawing Ottawa 2-2 in what was a very exciting and entertaining game. But it's definitely a game where Cavalry fans, players, and coaches are really going to feel like they let 3 points slip because they had a 2-0 lead in this game and ended all square.
Yeah, we said it a few times on this podcast in previous episodes. Sometimes a draw feels like a win and sometimes it can feel like a loss. And this one feels more like a loss after what they had established in the first half. I would say that first half was as good as I've seen this team play all year. They just looked great. But when you're playing a team as good as Ottawa and you're playing them at home, you got to play really, really on top of it for 90 minutes.
Yeah, you're right. Cavalry went into the break 2-0 up, 2 goals from Ali Musi, who had a really lively first half. After playing really well individually in that 5-4 thriller last weekend, so carrying his good form forward. And one of the goals was, I think the first goal was a really nice team goal. Good ball down the wing from Toby Warshevsky, and then a great cross to the back post from Mikhail Gerasimenkov. And Musi did well to knock it over the line, and he actually collided with the post, and this looked really painful. He was really nursing his arm after, and he just flew into that post at full speed, but put his body on the line and got Cavalry up 1-0. And not too long afterwards, with a classic Musi free kick, he made it 2-0, although he had a little bit of help from an Ottawa player who deflected it quite heavily. But great start for Cavalry, and then they had a great chance shortly after the hour mark to actually go up 3-0 and probably put this game to bed. But there's a little bit of miscommunication on that play, and then before you knew it, Ottawa were right back in it, and it was 2-2.
Yeah, they scored 2 goals within 3 minutes, I think it was. On that, the first goal, Sam Salter showed why he is leading the league in goals. He knows where to be at the right place at the right time, doesn't he?
Yeah, this was a shot from distance from Manny Aparicio. And Jason, I think you know how highly I rate Manny Aparicio. I've said for a while, I think he's one of the best central midfielders in the CPL. And he took a great shot that really had a lot of swerve on it. Marco Carducci did make the save, but I think just with the way that ball was swerving in the air, he wasn't able to really knock it to safety, and he just knocked it onto the crossbar, bottom of the crossbar, and it bounced basically down, and it didn't quite cross the line. And before Carducci was able to jump on it, Salter, CPL's leading scorer this year, it's like he just anticipated the rebound, and he was able to more or less slide tackle this ball in underneath Carducci.
And then a few minutes later, was that goal did it count as an own goal against Gutierrez?
Google still puts David Rodriguez as the goal scorer, but I definitely thought that Diego Gutierrez, that the ball had come off of his midriff. So I'm not too sure, to be honest, but I would have put it down as an own goal. But that was the second heavily deflected goal of the afternoon. But I think, Ottawa did well to make that goal happen, even if they did get a little bit of luck on it.
I think when you're on the road in the second half and you're ahead by 2 goals, it's kind of a bit of a funny place to be in, because you don't want to push too hard and be too aggressive, but then that's what got you there in the first half, so it's kind of a bit of from a tactical standpoint, kind of a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah, and speaking of tactics, we should highlight that Cavalry finally deviated from their oft-used 4-2-3-1 that we've talked about and that we've asked Tommy Wheeldon Jr. about. They employed what looked like, was it a 3-5-2 or kind of a 3-4-3 this weekend, which we haven't seen Cavalry go to a back three, but I guess with having Dan Klomp back, that's a little bit more feasible. And yeah, it really worked in the first half. No, like Ottawa, as we've talked about, really good team. And I mean, honestly, they could have escaped with they could have won this game 3-2. They generated 15 shots compared to 10 from Cavalry, 8 shots on target versus 4 from Cavalry. They had 2/3 of possession, more than 200 passes more than Cavalry, so they had more of the ball. Obviously, those statistics don't determine who wins, but watching this game, I was kind of nervous that they were going to make it 3-2. Although it was actually Cavalry in the 90th minute who had the best chance to win the game. And Nate Ingham, who I think has been one of the best keepers in the CPL this year, he made a phenomenal save off of a header from, was it Eric Kobza?
I thought Kanija Elva, I thought it was.
Oh, yes, sorry. It was Kanija Elva who'd been subbed in. Yeah, it was a great cross from the right, and he did well to get his head on it. But Ingham, what a save from him to
Oh, yeah.
rescue a point.
Absolutely. So, yeah, a pretty exciting game overall, and, a match in the end where, I think it seemed pretty even and probably a draw seemed about right. But as far as trying to claw your way up the standings, this one didn't help Cavalry all that much.
No, they're on 30 points at the moment after 20 games. So 8 games left. They're still 10 points back of Ottawa, who are in second, and Forge, having won yet another game, they've extended their lead over Ottawa at the top of the table to 6 points. Jason, Forge got 50 points last season, and they won the CPL Shield, and they are now 4 points off of that, 8 games left. So yeah, Forge still unbeaten, chasing an invincible season, possibly going to break the CPL's single season points record if they keep this form up. With a 16-point spread, I don't think any Cavalry fan is holding on to any hope that the team is going to win the CPL Shield. But second is still a possible finish for Cavalry. Not the most likely scenario, but one that I'm sure the team is going to be trying its best to obtain. It's going to be hard with Ottawa playing how they've done. Obviously, 2 defeats from 20 games. They have become a team that is very hard to beat.
So I guess Cavalry will have one more shot at Ottawa, back in Ottawa before the season wraps up.
But they also have to play Forge 2 more times, but both of those will be at home. So, Jason, I was going to ask you if you know what the single season points record in the CPL is and what year
I do not.
Obtained.
I do not know what it is. That's good. That's a good one, actually. I would like to know that.
So it is Cavalry. In 2019, they got 62 points from a 28-game season. However, that is a little different because that was when the CPL just had 7 teams. So they played some teams 5 times that year, and they played other teams 4 times. So a little different than now. But yeah, no one has really even come close to that points total in the 5 years since. But Forge could realistically surpass it if they keep playing the way they've been playing. I wanted to see how Cavalry is doing compared to last year when they finished with 48 points. And with 30 at the moment, it means that to equal last season's points total, they would need to win 6 of their last 8 games.
That would be a very strong finish to the season. Seems like a bit of a tall order.
Yeah, it is possible. We've seen Cavalry, go on these winning streaks before, but it's looking likely that they won't finish with as many points as they have in their last couple of seasons.
This is Maggie Doherty Howard, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, Scott, let's turn our attention to the Calgary Wild. They were in Montreal playing the Roses on Saturday morning, and not a great result for the Wild as they go down 2-0 in defeat.
Yeah, both goals for Montreal coming from their new signing, Chae Rim Kang from South Korea. Really great game from her. She opened the scoring in the 44th minute with a thunderbolt of a strike into the top corner from outside the box. And then she doubled Montreal's lead with another goal in the 51st minute. Easily the player of the game. But this was a game where I actually was really impressed by Steph Vukovic. Obviously, you don't want to let 2 goals in as a goalkeeper, but she, if it weren't for some of her saves, this game could have been easily 4-0 for Montreal.
From what I saw in this match, and I wasn't able to watch it from start to finish, the whole thing, but I thought the Wild defense was pretty shaky on several occasions from what I saw. And like you said, Vukovic saved them at least a couple times, probably.
Yeah, this was really one-way traffic, especially in the first half. Montreal was playing quite well, but yeah, this was another case where the Wild weren't able to field their usual back four, and the wheels come off whenever they don't have that back four, right? Like we usually see Ali Green on the left, Mike Rolfsema and Michaela Moore as the 2 center backs, and then Grace Storty on the right. And Mike Rolfsema wasn't available for this match, and Talia White got the start. It wasn't working out. The back four just wasn't clicking, and the result didn't really seem in doubt. The Wild did have, I think, 1 or 2 chances. Closest they came was a nicely taken free kick from Maggie Doherty-Howard in the second half that I think hit the crossbar or was saved onto the crossbar. But other than that, I mean, they were pretty deservedly shut out in this one.
When you look at the table for the NSL, there's starting to be a bit of separation between the top 4 and the bottom 2 now. So the Wild are in 5th with 20 points, and they're 5 points back of the playoff spot.
Yeah, 5 points back of the Ottawa Rapid, and 6 points back of Vancouver, who are in 3rd. So yeah, there's some table climbing to do. And, we talked about how they were looking a lot better in their last couple of games. They were on a 2-game win streak for the first time. But this was kind of a case of 2 steps forward and maybe 1 step back. But it is noteworthy that more than a third of the roster is out injured at the moment. And that was really apparent when looking at both the starting 11 in this game against Montreal, but also the bench.
The Wild addressed 2 keepers, and they signed a new keeper, Laurence Gladue, who is from Montreal. And originally, I thought that maybe they were an emergency keeper, but no, it turns out that they're a regular signing. But even to fill up the bench, the last player on the bench was another goalkeeper, just a local Montreal youth player who I think is like 16 years old or something like that. That's who you've got, filling out your bench. That's showing that you don't have a lot of players left.
Which is crazy if you think of the fact that Calgary has 3 goalkeepers on the roster, or they did. I mean, there was Sarah Kelty-Dilling, who hasn't played yet this season, but has pro experience, and then Jackie Burns. So, yeah, I don't know the injury status of the Wild's goalkeeping core, but crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a pro team field a local from the city of the team that they're playing against before. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, it is a bit of a head scratcher. And I'm presuming we're going to find out more this week about the goalkeeping situation, but I've opined already that I'm just kind of presuming Jackie Burns is leaving the club. She didn't appear in this match, but I just think that, I'm pretty sure that she's probably not that happy with her lack of playing time, and she probably has some options in Europe still. So it wouldn't shock me that she's just asked to go back to the other side of the pond. But I guess we'll see. That will become apparent in the next couple of days. But that would seem to sort of track in with why they've signed this young keeper Gladue, who has a pretty good college resume.
Yeah, you did some digging on her. She was goalkeeper of the year in NCAA's Big Ten last year. She played for University of Southern California. That's a big NCAA program. So yeah, I mean, not sure if she'll see the pitch, if there's still three goalkeepers for the Wild, or if it's going down to 2. I don't really know what's going on, but Vukovic is really shown well in some games. So she'll have some work to do if she wants to challenge her for a starting spot.
I'm Caden Rogozinski, and this is YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, let's talk about U Sports. We saw the Canada West season kick off this weekend on the men's side. Both of Calgary's teams were in action. Let's start with the University of Calgary Dinos, who got their season going in a great way with a 4-1 win over MacEwan. Not too hard to pick a player of the game in this one.
Yeah, I read a stat somewhere. I think it's only happened a handful of times before in Canada West history that a player's got 4 goals. But Owen Antoniuk was able to pull that off on Saturday.
Scored every goal for the Dinos in this one. Jason, you predicted in our last episode that he will challenge for the Canada West Golden Boot this year. And you probably made a pretty good prediction because the Dinos played again today being Sunday. And while they lost this one 2-1, Antoniuk scored their only goal. So he has now scored 5 goals in the 2025 season. So off to a pretty good start, personally.
No doubt.
So Antoniuk being on 5 goals, Jason, I don't know this for sure, but I think the single season scoring record for the Dinos is still held by Dominic Russo. He scored 15 goals in both 2015 and 2016. You know, with 5 goals in 2 games, I think Antoniuk has a great chance to set a new scoring record for this team.
It sounds like in that first match against MacEwan, yeah, he was dominant. In this match against Alberta, I'm not as familiar with what happened in that one, but unfortunate to not come out with a point, I guess, on this one. But you said it was a late penalty kick?
Yeah, that I read the game recap on the Dinos website, and apparently it was 1-1, and then in the final few minutes, Alberta got a penalty and they scored it. So tough luck for Calgary, but 1-1 to start the season, and U of A is a decent program, right? They're always a challenger for the Prairie Division first place, so they'll get another crack at them, I think. Let's switch gears and talk about Mount Royal, because that's the team that I managed to get out to watch this afternoon.
They were playing the same teams that the Dinos were playing. They just switched opposition between Saturday and Sunday. And in the first match on Saturday, they played Alberta Golden Bears and they won 3-1.
Yeah, 2 goals from Kwasi Oteng Frimpong, who I think last week you predicted he was going to have a good season this year. So, Jason, I think you're 2 for 2 so far with your U Sports predictions. And then today, yeah, they played MacEwan, and I was at this game. They won 3-1 with a brace from Chanda, his first 2 goals at the university level, and then Finn Marshall scored as well. MacEwan actually took the lead early into the second half, which seemed a little bit surprising. It was a fairly cagey first half, but if I had to predict who was going to break the deadlock, I would have thought it would be Mount Royal. But Mount Royal responded really well to going down a goal, and Chanda tied it up, capitalized on a bit of defensive breakdown from the Griffins, and then a really nice goal from Marshall shortly afterward, curled it in top corner off the post, and then Chanda got his brace not long after that. So strong performance from Mount Royal, 6 points from their first 2 games, 6 goals scored and only 2 conceded. So despite the rebuild, they've seen a lot of key players from their last few years depart, right? Like we talked about Caden Rogozinski, Miguel De Rocha, but they're also without Ethan Keane and Abel Nasibu this year. Aiden Demoulin, the star goalkeeper, he's also not back. So they had a new guy in net named Shard Strauss. Despite, a lot of names I don't actually know, they got it done this weekend. It's interesting. I think we knew that the Dinos were going to lean heavily on Owen Antoniuk for their offensive output this year. But from MRU's perspective, I think they have a lot of firepower up front. And I'm really curious to see how many goals Chanda is going to put in his rookie U Sports campaign. Like, even though he's probably he's 18, and this was his first weekend of U Sports, he just looks like he's going to scare defenders. Like he's got the physicality, the speed, the fox in the box attitude. So I was impressed by his performance. But obviously, he's coming from a professional environment. So he's probably finding these matches easier than what he's become used to. And same goes for Owen Antoniuk. So it's interesting to see how that, that CPL connection can really give a team a boost.
Absolutely. Before we started recording, one thing you weren't impressed with, though, was sort of the state of affairs for the facilities on campus there at Mount Royal.
Yeah, so like we know that Mount Royal's stadium field or stadium pitch, whatever they call it, it's one of the best grass pitches in Calgary, right? And it's flat, it's always perfectly mowed, very well manicured, and it has been torn up. There's just, if you look at the photos that I posted on my social media accounts of this game, you'll see in the background it's like a huge construction site right now. That's because they're installing artificial turf for that field. So it's better in terms of, if you think about that, the U Sports season goes into, late October, possibly early November if the Cougars go on a deep playoff run. So it makes sense to an artificial turf there, but it is a little bit sad to lose another great grass pitch in Calgary. There's only a couple. But yeah, because of that, they were playing on one of the side pitches, which is not quite as nice. They've done a good job with the state of the grass, but in terms of it being like a U Sports game, it just is just a little bit of a less professional setup, because like I didn't see a scoreboard or a clock showing what minute we were in, and there's no proper bleachers for fans, so they kind of got to like sit on the grass or bring their camping chairs like if it were a youth game. And considering that MRU has been one of the top U Sports programs in Canada in the last couple of seasons, it just felt a little bit disappointing, but I do appreciate why they've decided to go this route.
The other thing when we're talking about facilities here, which is interesting, is the Dinos played their matches in the West Soccer Dome this weekend. I'm not sure what's up with that.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe they're in the same situation, because I did hear from someone from the Dinos last year that they do want to get artificial turf for their soccer field. But Jason, you decided to check it out for yourself this evening, and it doesn't look like that's the case.
Right before we recorded, I jumped in my car just to go see, because I thought, well, I wonder, we can talk about it when we record. But yeah, the field is just same as usual. It's looks like it's being used. There were lines on it. The nets are in place. So from what I could tell, there's no reason that they couldn't have used it this weekend. It looks like it's in fine shape. So I'm not sure why they didn't.
Yeah. Hopefully we find that out. And I would prefer them to play on campus, right? It just feels wrong to be a university team and to be playing away from the university. But maybe there's a good reason for it. It feels just kind of a bit different from usual for these two teams to be playing in fields that they usually don't play at.
Hi, this is Christine Sinclair, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
Okay, before we wrap things up today, we wanted to give our final update for the Canada Summer Games. We've tried to keep track of this over the last couple of weeks, and this past week it's been the women's division, the girls division, and Alberta made it into the medal round, but a bit of a tough weekend for them.
They did well to get to the semifinals, but it was always going to be a tough game against Ontario. This one ended in a goalless draw, and then Ontario won in a shootout, knocking Alberta out of gold medal contention and sending them to the consolation bronze medal game. They played Nova Scotia, who, they're not the home team in this tournament as it was taking place in Newfoundland, but probably felt more like the home team than Alberta did. And it was another goalless draw, and then another shootout. And once again, Alberta didn't succeed in the shootout. Nova Scotia won. So Alberta was kept off the podium. And yeah, maybe they got to practice their penalty shootouts a bit more. Thank you for listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast. You can have this podcast downloaded to your device as soon as it becomes available by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other platforms. Check out our website at yycsoccer.com, where you can look through our episode archive and find other options to listen, including our YouTube channel. We also have links to buy my book, Here Come the Cavalry, chronicling the history of professional soccer in Calgary. You can leave a question or comment in the Contact Us section of our website, or you can interact with us on social media, such as Twitter, Instagram, or Blue Sky, where our username is at YYC Soccer 403. Thank you for listening.